Hey, what's up, YouTube? This is your host, King Gio. Today I want to talk to you about the vast and mass of immigrants who are coming from Texas or what other country to New York City. I'm going to tell you the reality of what's happening, and I can only imagine the frustration that's going into the shelter system. I, for one, I'm a firm believer to help our brothers and sisters out in every way possible. But I'm also a firm believer that we have to help our own first. And do I mind that people come from another country to live in the United States? No, I don't mind. Do I mind, when they? Because I'm an open-minded person. I understand that they come to this country, they work, they whatever immigrants come from another country, they come here, they work, they bust their butts off, and I don't put that notion in my head. Oh, they're taking our jobs away. No, they're not taking our jobs away. It's that some people just don't want to work, and it's just fair market. If you can get, don't blame your immigrants for coming to this country and working, and then other people don't have jobs. If you're gonna blame somebody, for hiring illegals, blame the bosses, the man and woman who are hiring them. But anyways, I want to make this video because this all this does, having these immigrants come, and I'm not calling them immigrants, but these individuals or these families come into New York City or any other state, but I'm talking about New York City itself. All it does is saturates the system with more homelessness. I myself can tell you that I've been in the shelter myself when I came from Puerto Rico, but I got out of the system in 2 years. That's when I bought my house, and I can tell you that there are people in the system at that time that were waiting for an apartment, waiting for Section 8 for 2, 3, 4 years, and they lived in the shelter. There are different types of shelters. You have shelters where you stay in a hotel room with your family. There are shelters throughout New York City that are buildings. They have apartments that the city pays the landlords, and a family of 4 can live in a 1-bedroom apartment. There are 2-bedroom apartments, and they stay there temporarily until they get housed. Okay, and the city pays for this. Then you have, for single men or single women, you have shelters that are SROs, a single room occupancy. Then you have shelters where they're like gymnasiums, where they got cots and stuff like that. And I've known people who have stayed in hotels for 2 or 3 years before they even get a Section 8 or get anything. And my problem with this is that you have these individuals and families that are coming over to New York City, and they're going to get ahead of the game. They're going to get housed first. They're going to get food stamps. They're going to get in New York City. It's not like any other city. When you go into it, when you're into the welfare system, New York City gives you food stamps, and they give you cash, and they give you cash every 2 weeks. So, depending on the family size, depending on the cash, and depending on the food stamp. So, I can tell you, for me, a family of 5, we got $280 worth of cash a week. Every 2 weeks. So that's $560 a month. Okay? And then when I started working, they reduced it until when I was working full-time. I just got out of the welfare system. I was working through my job, and they gave me insurance and all that. But that's for 4 people. That's for 5 people. So just imagine this taking out of the money out of the people of New York. You have people who are living there or in shelters, like I said, 2 or 3 years. These individuals and families are going to be ahead of them. They're going to get Section 8 quicker than they are, because they're going through emergencies. They're going to get housing quicker. They're going to get housed much more quicker than the people who have been there for years. And that's what That's what gets to me. Because since when is Guatemala or Nicaragua? I mean, if you're going to come here on an asylum status because your country is treating you bad, and you that's one thing. But most of the people are fleeing their country because they cannot find jobs in their own country. And then you come here and you're going to saturate our system. Like I said, I don't mind helping people out, but we got to help ourselves out first. The same way that I'm against us going to other countries and policing other countries. You got to police yourself. And if things get out of hand, it's a different story. But we can't be policing every country, and that's what we do. And that's something that we need to stop. And I'm not a Republican or a Democrat. I'm a human being that cares for people. But I have to take care of my own. If I see someone in the streets and they're starving, and I see my neighbor in the streets and they're starving, I gotta make a choice. My neighbor or this person, or I split it between both. But if I can only give one, I'm gonna have to give it to my neighbor because that's my neighbor. And when I see pictures like the ones that you saw, pictures like this, I'm glad that these individuals and their families are coming to a country where, they can better themselves. But you're taking away from people who are actually in the system, and they've been in the system for a while. Now, the one thing that I do have to say is that you do meet a lot of lazy people in the system, because the system designed it so that you can stay in a shelter for a long time, because it's all money. It's all money. So there are some individuals, there are a few, who do want to get out of the system, who wants to work, who wants to better themselves, who wants to do good in school. Who wants to go back to school. But for the majority of them, they get complacent with what the system is giving them, and that's why they stay in the system for such a long time. Because they don't go and knock on the caseworker's door. They don't go do this. They don't go do that. They don't move. And I moved. I was at my caseworkers, but every single day I need to move. Let's do this. And finally, after I went to the shelter system June 16th. And from June 16th until September, where they moved me to the projects in Staten Island. And then from Staten Island, I went to renting a house. So I stood in the projects in Staten Island for 6 months. And then I rented my first house. And then the owner sold the house a year later. And then he had another house. I rented that house from him. And then until I finally said, you know what? I got enough money saved up that I'm going to buy a house. And that's what we did. We bought a house and we got out of the system. Because I moved. I don't want to get complacent in one place. And that's what most people do in the shelter system. When they're getting the food stamp, when they're getting the Section 8, when they're getting SSI, they get complacent and they don't want to leave. You see a lot of people in NYCHA projects and the projects who don't leave the projects because the projects in NYCHA, you don't pay rent. And if you're working, they take 30% of what you're making. So I've seen people work and they pay rent. But for the majority of them, they don't pay rent in the NYCHA projects. They don't. The light's free. The water's free. You can have up to 2 air conditioners for $10 a year. $10 a month. Right? And you can have all the electricity you want. You can have it turned on all year round. And they won't say nothing. You can have a washing machine, no dryer. And you can do all that. And it's free. So who doesn't want that kind of life? To live for free. Some people work under the tables. And they make their hustle like that. But you have some people in the projects that do work. That do want to better themselves. And I was one of those people that I wanted to better myself. And I did. But that's neither here nor there. But seeing this fluctuation of immigrants coming to our country, like I said, it's going to saturate our system. And our system is already packed. New York City is packed with people in shelters. And these individuals and these families are going to go ahead of them. And this is all This is all political. I mean, I understand helping people out, but it just comes to a point. And you gotta say, you know what, this has gotta stop. You want to come to a country, come to here legally, or come to the process. But having thousands and thousands just coming in, I mean, what the city's going to do? You know, what the city is to do. You know, Texas should help. The Republicans don't help because they don't want to help. You know, Democrats help because they seem they want to help, but they look at it for political reasons. You know, if you want to help, do it the right way. And I believe that this is gonna just put New York even more down than what it is now. You know, job wise, I know that people who come from other countries, they bust their behinds when they get here and they do any type of job. So that's good. You know, because they don't, to be honest with you, when you have individuals and their families that come from other countries, yes, they do bust their behind, and people may say, oh, you know, they spend their money in the economy. Well, not really, because most of them, what they do is that they take their money and they send it back home, and some of them live in an apartment, 5 or 6 of them in one apartment, and they all pay rent, and the rest they send it home. So, and that's New York City. In other states, you see them with their own house, which is good. You see them with their own car, which is good. And you know that you can tell that they're giving back to the economy. When you go to New York City, and I've met a lot of Mexicans, I've met a lot of Salvadoranians, Nicaraguans, and what they do is that they make their money, and they send, I would say 80% of that, they send it to their families, to their homes, to take care of them. So that's not going to our economy. So how is that helping that state? How is that helping our economy grow? It's not. You know, and when you see thousands of people coming into this country, and you see them, you know, because they do move them up ahead, because they're emergencies. So when you're emergencies, they give you everything in one shot. You know, find this and find that. And it's kind of hard in New York, because it's kind of hard to get housing in New York, because the rent is so high. But think about it this way. This is the way the system works in New York City. Where I was living at, in the building that I was living at, the landlord charged the city $2,000 a month for a 1-bedroom apartment. $2,000. And when they came to give me a voucher, my voucher was only for $1,200. And I was like, what am I gonna find for $1,200 in New York? We're 4. We're 5. And I thought about it, like, you pay $2,000 a month for a shelter for 1 bedroom, but you can only give $1,000. So I don't understand the logistic of it. But these landlords, they make money, and the city pays for it. And you got different programs in New York City that the city's willing to pay, but it takes time, because there are a lot of landlords that don't take vouchers. There are a lot of landlords that don't take programs. You see, for X reasons. But these individuals that are coming from other countries, they will get moved up in the system. I'm surprised that they still haven't given them Section 8, because at one point in time, when Rudy Giuliani was mayor of New York City, if you went into the shelter system, you got Section 8 quick. And when Michael Bloomberg became mayor of New York City, he stopped that. So a lot of people a lot of people were like, well, I'll go to the shelter and I'll get a Section 8. And I'll talk about Section 8 someday, because that's another program that needs to be revised. So now that you go to a shelter, you don't get Section 8 like that, because it has to go through a list. Nonetheless, it has to be open. But when it comes to emergency, they can open up emergency Section 8 and give these individuals a Section 8 voucher. You know, because in New York City, Even if you're illegal, they'll give you your driver's license, your learner's permit. You can work here. You can do this because it's a sanctuary city, a state, and there's a lot of things that you can do. And what happened to our people? And I understand that people in the shelter system have to help themselves, but I'm talking about prioritizing some people over the others, and those people are from another country to ours. Like I said before, I'm all for helping people out, but we have to look out for ourselves. And when I was in the shelter system, I try to help as many people as I could. I try to give them advice. Listen, you don't want to stay stagnant here. You want to move from here. You want to go from point A to point B to point D to point D until you get to your, make this your ground, and then aim for something higher than this. You don't want to live in a system just because the system gives you money every 2 weeks and they give you food stamps. That's not the way you want to live. You want to work for your own. When you get that paycheck, you say, "Dude, I bust my ass off for this. No one can tell me what I can and can't do." And most people who are in the system, that's the way they think. They think, I'm better off not working because I get some money, and I work off the books. Some people get SSI, some people get Section 8, some people get SSI, SSD, disability. There's a lot of things going on today. A lot of people don't know. Or they do know. And they turn the other way. They turn their cheek the other way because they don't want to be part of that. A Republican will never tell you, or a Democrat will never tell you, "Oh yeah, there's people cheating the system," and no one will never tell you that. But they'll tell you, people. The Democrats will tell you, there are people who are starving out there, but they won't tell you the logistic of it. That most people in the shelter system won't get out of the shelter system. Most people in Section 8 won't leave Section 8. Most people who live in projects will never leave the projects. The majority will stay. The majority will keep their Section 8. The majority will stay in the welfare system because our system is, has got them used to not working, not doing anything. But that's neither here or there. But the saturation of these individuals coming in and being prioritized over those people who are already in the system and they've still been there for 2 or 3 years, that's what bothers me. If you're an individual that you don't want to do anything for yourself and you're in the system and you don't want to move because you feel comfortable there, that's on you. But for all those family members who are in the system already, and their husbands or their wives or the individual mother or father are working and they're busting their behind because they want to better themselves, those are the ones that I'm talking about. Those are the ones that are going to get left behind because these individuals and these families are going to be considered first because they're emergencies. And they are. And that's the truth. So, when do we stop this? When do we say, this is enough? Yes, you got to help people out. Yes, you do. But you just can't leave your country because your country doesn't have food and shelter. That's where you were born. You're trying to do the best you can. And, I don't see your country be war-torn that you have to come here as an emergency or so, as an asylum seeker because your life is in danger. If your life is in danger because they're going to kill you, some of them, something different, and that's another whole different story. But the thousands of people that crossed the border, the thousands of people who were there, to put it this way, I'm going to give you an example. You see those men and women in those families who came out that bus, right? You see the picture about families coming out that bus. But did you know that there were Haitians in the Mexican border who were waiting there for a year and a half? They got sent back. They got sent back to Haiti. They got sent back to Haiti. And why? So think about this. Why they got sent back to Haiti? And I'm Puerto Rican, so I got nothing against anyone. But they let the Hispanics, they let the Mexicans, they let the Guatemaltecans, they let the Nicaraguans, they let them go in. Why? Because it's political. Because They see that as an act. You know, you let thousands of people in. What is that going to do? It's going to move a Spanish community. You know, the Spanish community in this country is big, so that's going to move them to vote Democrat, right? Like I said, I'm not a Democrat or Republican, but this is the way they think. But if you let 1,000 Haitians in, that's not going to do anything for the Haitian. That's not going to do anything as politically wise to gain votes, because there's not a big fluctuation of Haitians in the United States as there is Hispanics. So they see the Haitians as they're not going to benefit us as much as the Hispanics are. That's the truth of it. You know, so and it's sad. It really is sad, because I saw the Haitian family there for a year and a half in a tent, wanted to come to the United States, and they were denied. And you saw them; they were taken by bus, by hand, they were taken to the airport. They took them back to Haiti. You know, there is a big history with Haiti in the United States. That's not very good if you look at it. I'm going to give you one example. When President Clinton was president of the United States, not when he was president, but when he was senator of the United States, or he was senator of the governor of, I think he was president, I'm sorry. Yes, president. When he was president of the United States, he told Haiti that Haiti had to buy its rice. Haiti was not allowed to sell rice. And Haiti was to buy the rice. They were to import rice from where? From Arkansas. That's the state that Bill Clinton's from. So the Haitian had to buy rice from Arkansas while they had rice. Okay, so there's been a bad history between Haiti and the United States, and that's another story. But that's why they let the Hispanic go in, and they didn't let the Haitians come in, because to their eyes, they weren't politically fit. They didn't fit their agenda. And it's sad, like I said before. So what do we do with these families that are coming in? Yes, we help them out, but you just can't give them everything in an emergency when there are people who are in the system who are still awaiting for an apartment or a house or a voucher. I mean, I'm talking about people who want to better themselves, not for those leeches. I'm talking about better themselves. And that's what it is. You know, so I don't know how Major Adams is doing this. I want in another video. I want to talk about the crime in New York. It's horrendous. And then I want to talk about Chicago's bail bonds. But it is incredible. And like I said, I want to help everybody out, but we got to help ourselves out first, and help those, especially those who really, really want to make something of themselves. And as a caseworker, you can tell who really wants to better themselves, because most caseworkers don't care. You're just another client for them. They get paid regardless of whether you move here, you move there. You know. But it's sad. It's really sad that we have this fluctuation, and it's getting torn to New York City, going here. You know, the Texas governor sent them here. I read today that DeSantis sent some of them to Martha's Vineyard. I mean, DeSantis is an idiot. You know. But it's just, our system is so bad that it has led to people to, you know, say, you know what, I'm gonna go to the United States, and I don't care what it is, and you know, and you could help people out. You could. There's nothing wrong with helping people out, but you gotta take care of your own. Look at California. Look at Skid Row. That's sad, right? And then Newsom raises the minimum wage to $22 an hour, which is good. But what do you do to people with Skid Row? Look at Kennington, Pennsylvania. That's a drug war zone. If you go there, I've seen videos where people are high on dope, thrown on the floor all over Kingston. Does the mayor of that town do anything? Does the government do anything? No. Those are the ones that you gotta help. Our Vietnam veterans. I saw yesterday a story where this young man went to Iraq from Puerto Rico. He went to Iraq twice. Twice. He was suffering from PTSD. In the veterans hospital, all they kept doing is the veteran hospital. They kept doing is delaying his treatment. Delaying. He never got treatment. And what did he do? He snapped on his father and he killed his father 2 days ago. And he loved his father from what he said. He loved his father. Him and his father were inseparable. And the reason he went back to Puerto Rico was because his father said, "I'm going to help you out." But he just snapped. And that's sad. That you go to war, you join the United States Army, you join our armed forces, and you go and you fight, and you come back, you come a different person, and the government doesn't want to help you. You know how many homeless vets are out there? They can't get a house because the government refuses to give it to them. It's sad. But yet, come other people from other country, and they give them the golden egg. Do you understand that? And that's what I'm complaining about. Yes, you can help them out, but what about our own? What about our own?